Assalamu alaikum, this is Aisha from CEO Club Pakistan. Today we are here and I'm pleased to introduce my guest today, who is Mr. Shoaib Javed Hussain. He is the chairman of State Life Insurance and he is the youngest ever CEO of this industry and even in State Life Insurance as well. So he has 20 years of experience, more than 20 years of experience to the global leading companies of insurance in United Kingdom and in Asia. So over to you, sir. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, Ji. Pleasure to be here with you, Aisha.
Thank you so much, sir. How are you, sir?
Doing well, busy, but on good things. So things are going well.
So it sounds good. So, sir, you will start for your journey, your inspirational, motivational journey, sir.
Right. So if you talk to me about my professional journey, so I'm an actuary by profession. I'm a fellow of the Institute of Actuaries. And for those who may not know, actuarial is a profession that works around mathematical and financial probabilities. A lot of people call them soothsayers because their job is to use data and mathematical and statistical projections to understand what may happen in the future and hence the needs of the company. Now, it's not an easy profession. I think in Pakistan, even now, qualified actuaries are about 20 in the whole country. So we don't have a lot of actuaries here. The way I started off was a bit unique in the sense that after I finished my schooling at Karachi Grammar School here in Karachi, I chose, for different reasons, not to go straight to a university. So I did not do an undergraduate at all. Instead, I started working with a local consultancy in Pakistan called Dr. Hassan as an actuarial trainee or a student. And the path you follow there is while you're working, you do your day job, and in the evenings you do self-study. And through the British Council or the fellow of the Institute of Actuaries, you sit for exams once every 6 months. So I started that. That was a bit tough. But having passed about more than 50% of my required exams, there are 15 exams in total, I got picked up. A particular university in London came to mind. And on the basis of the exams I'd passed on my own and the work experience I'd gained in Pakistan, I got admission for a master's course at then CASP Business School, City University, London. So I went over to London to finish my, which is a unique way of not having an undergraduate, but still doing a master's. And then post that, I started working with companies in London such as HSBC, Ernst & Young, Prudential, completed my fellowship. I fellow of the Institute of Actuaries. And then I was in London for about 14 years before moving to Hong Kong and then here.
Okay. Sir, what are the challenges you faced in this specific industry of insurance?
The specific industry in insurance, if I say about 20 years ago when I first started off, early 2000s, the actual profession was unknown here in Pakistan. I believe it's gotten a bit more publicity out there now. So most people didn't know what it was. And hence, 20 years ago, even the insurance industry itself was much smaller, which meant that the idea of what you're doing and how it will develop a career was a bit grey. But I believe the biggest challenge was actuarial, and some people consider this to be one of the most toughest examinations of professions to clear. And in Pakistan, there isn't any formal education support. Because as I said earlier, you're sitting for exams yourself, you're self-studying, and you go through that. So it requires a lot of discipline. And I think for an 18-year-old kid coming straight out of high school to instill that discipline and keep the foresight that where your vision and goal is, that discipline was really important. Obviously, a lot of training from family and parents comes into that. But I think that was the main thing of keeping your eye on the ball throughout.
So, sir, which kind of problems you have faced in COVID-19 in your specific insurance industry? So, if you have suffered, a lot of industries have boomed, a lot of industries have bottomed down. So, what?
When COVID started, I was in Hong Kong. I was Global Director Risk and Strategy for AIA, which is the largest Pan-Asian group. And interestingly enough, it was during the time of COVID that I transitioned from Hong Kong to Pakistan. And I wanted to come back to Pakistan because I've been away a long time. And COVID gave me the realization that actually being closer to family, parents, and contributing towards your own country matters a lot more rather than being what I would call an economic nomad. So when you ask me the experience of COVID, I can give you experience of two different countries. First and foremost, when it was in Hong Kong, when it hit, and the magnitude of it started to settle into the companies, it wasn't so much so the business hit, commercial hit. The reaction was more about business continuity. Obviously, people working from home, not being able to come into offices, some people being stuck abroad. How do you continue that business? And then it really enhanced the usability and the importance of digital connections. But even more important than that was the insight into customer need. I think most companies, when I was in Hong Kong and abroad, the first reaction was, how do we make this journey easier, or this time easier for the customer? And that's where the focus was. Coming into Pakistan, we must appreciate and we must respect the fact that Pakistan has been one of the countries that has handled COVID rather well.
Yeah.
As far as cases are concerned, the peaks are concerned, when I compare to Hong Kong, when I was there, it was complete shutdown, lockdowns, and even countries like Malaysia and complete lockdown for months on, which really hampered economic growth and economic activity. In Pakistan, you didn't feel like there was COVID. You've seen it. And in Karachi, the roads are full, businesses are ongoing, and even in that, you have to appreciate NCOC's role in managing all of that. So that's all gone well. But, with the insurance industry, given that this has been a health pandemic, I believe it has also created awareness in people of the importance of, and if it hasn't, it should, the importance of investing in health now so you're protected later against eventualities. We're all human. And of course, when certain pandemics like this hit, which the human race has never experienced before, or it's a one in 100-year event, then I think insurance industry as a whole has a responsibility to step up, provide better products, better value products, innovative products, especially on the health line. And I've been with State Life for about 9 months. And one of the key things that we're doing, when I first joined in, State Life is a service provider for the Sehat Sulat program across provinces. Wherever we could, we included COVID treatments within the Sehat Sulat program. We facilitated the provincial governments requesting that. And then on the company side, we're also about to launch our entire health product plan. And this is going to be very different to what you've seen in the market so far, because we expect it to be more innovative, better value for money for the customer, so that when they come and buy it, they know that this is something they're going to get something in return. And I think that's the opportunity. One thing in the insurance industry, I think it's made the customer a lot more aware. It should make the insurance companies a lot more responsible of how they can add value to our society as a whole.
True. And
I see Pakistan as a land of opportunity right now, which means that there are plenty of win-win situations. There's no need for a competition, which will inshallah mean that as we expand, it will inspire others to come and join the journey, so that the end product to the customer, to the Pakistani consumer, is better value.
So, sir, there are leadership crises in Pakistan. So, how do you see a leader and how it should be?
I think the leadership crisis that you're talking about in Pakistan is very interesting. It's not, it's an interesting term you've used. What I see it more as, if I take a step back, is really the brain drain problem in Pakistan. I've been, let's say an expat Pakistani most of my adult life working abroad. I am a Pakistani, and it is that root and that connection that incited me back. That was my attraction back to my own home country, with my own family and friends and people. But when you go across the world, you have Pakistanis in leadership positions. You have Pakistanis in corporate leaderships, be it corporate services, be it in political wings as well, in humanitarian grounds. You have Pakistanis doing excellent work and leadership roles all around the world. It's just that they're not here in Pakistan. So the problem that we have in Pakistan is not about leadership skills. I think Pakistanis are one of the most talented people that you find globally. The problem that we have in Pakistan is more about brain drain.
Okay.
How do we retain our talent pool in Pakistan? And more importantly, where we are now, how do we attract them back? And I believe the corporate industry can play a very vital role in giving the financial security, the career progressions that may be attractive enough for certain Pakistanis to come back here. And that will then nurture leadership and also provide the right mentorship for the younger people here.
Yeah. So in your organization in insurance industry, so how you train people and how often you do training for your employees?
So State Life has a very robust human resource development plan. There are ongoing trainings for different levels as they come in. And to be honest, State Life is such a wide organization. It exists in every nook and corner of Pakistan, and that's something we're very proud of. We're servicing the biggest banks, we're servicing the local farmer, be them in Khyber or Karachi, Gwadar or Gilgit. We're everywhere. What that also means is that our staff, our employees, our sales agents, etc., they reflect every culture in Pakistan, every walk of life in Pakistan. We'll have the highest graduates. We also have people who've joined us straight out of metric, and hence there's a realization that our training program needs to be different to what a normal training program would be, to understand the background of individuals, where they're coming in, to understand the role they want to play and we want them to play in the enhancement and advancement of the corporation itself, and also what their career progression could be. So before I joined, State Life has had a sound, I would say, a training program at different levels. We have an understanding and an agreement with NIMS Karachi as well, where our most senior people go in for strategy training, communication trainings, etc. That's worked very well so far. We have in-house programs, which are regular refresher courses, from MS Office skills to even further communication and presentational skills to technical skills, because state insurance is a technical business, from the TOEFL business to our conventional business, etc. So we have that in place, and it's an ongoing program all year round. We are in a phase of further enhancing it to really make sure that we also then identify leadership skills and develop, as you said, future leaders, so we don't end up with a drought of leaders in Pakistan. So that's our next step.
Inshallah. So how many employees in your company, and a ratio of male and female?
Okay, our employees, our permanent employees across staff and offices is about 5,500, up to 6,000 nearly, between employees. However, State Life is also very unique in the sense that we have a sales force, and that sales force rounds up to about 150,000 people.
Okay.
So as you can imagine, coming in and engaging with them, it's a huge diaspora of Pakistan that you engage with. And like I said, every culture, every gender, every ethnicity is represented in State Life's colorful community or family, I would say. So the representation is there. However, we're also very focused on enhancing women's empowerment within State Life, but also playing the role that State Life should play as an insurance company. And we really see our work as social protection to roll out women empowerment products. So it's not only within our own organization, but women entrepreneurs. There's a huge market of women who work from their homes, who may not be part of the formal economy, and they don't have the right protection. So they're the initiatives we're working on right now with certain provincial governments as well as international institutions we're at the conceptual stage right now of developing products which will protect working women and hopefully increase the empowerment in our society.
Okay, that's inspiring. So, what do you think about emotional intelligence?
Exceptionally important, isn't it? Emotional intelligence, you're spot on because to a large extent, this is a conversation I was having with my father actually a few weeks back. You look at the role of leaders, you look at the persona of leaders.
Yeah.
When we look at leaders, when we read about them in books or we look at old clippings or radio interviews or speeches, say from 100 years ago, they came across as leaders, men or women of strength who led from the front, were very authoritative. In today's world, that concept of leader has changed. And EQ, our emotional quotient, becomes a very important part of that connection. It may have existed in the past too, it's just that we don't see it in the snippets that we see. And you have those examples. You take, a key example is New Zealand's Prime Minister. When they had the terrorism attack on a mosque, the way she reached out to the Muslim community and ensured that the entire Kiwi community comes together was an example for the world. And I love this, in an interview I was reading of hers, she really pointed out that, in her journey, people pointed out that because she's emotional or sympathetic or empathetic, that's a weakness as a leader. And she pressed the point that no, that's what makes her leadership strong. I'm paraphrasing, but I think that was the main gist of it. And I think that's where it is. Today's leadership is a fine line. Of course, you have to lead from the front. Of course, there needs to be courage. You need to have the vision, but you're not a boss. And that's a key difference. You're a leader means understanding emotionally, empathetically the needs of the people around you so you can motivate them appropriately. And that differentiation is essential.
That's so inspiring. So, what's the toughest decision you've made in your life, for your organization, for your personal life, in your professional life? Do you think that it is?
Mashallah, thankful to God, there hasn't been anything that has been shocking. I think it is if you make timely decisions and measured decisions and informed decisions, then you're aware of the pros and cons. So the cons you deal with. Luckily, I haven't been in a situation where I've been forced into a position where I wasn't fully aware of what the cons might be. And then you work hard. So, one of the most crucial decisions I made was not going to university. Just think about that. Somebody coming out of, with very good grades, or respectively good grades, from your A-levels, from a very well recognized school in Karachi. I think Karachi Grammar School is still one of the best schools that you find. And then choosing not to go to university. As you can imagine, it was a shock to anybody around. And even my parents would have been, I'm sure at the time, a little confused what this decision is about. And it was a complete gamble. Because if you didn't pass the exams, because it was going to be all self-study, then what do you do 2 years after? You've got nothing to show for it, or 3 years after. So it was a risk, but it was a measured risk. And it was measured in the sense of, I will have to put the hard work in. It's my decision. Then you own the decision and you go in. Similarly, that was my first step in the professional world. It was based on a very difficult decision. Very unique decision, but thankfully it's gone well since then. And then similarly coming back to Pakistan, you're global head of a very largest pan-Asian company across the world. At any given time, you're looking over 18 jurisdictions, 18 countries. You're doing very well financially and professionally. Then the decision to come back to Pakistan. I mean, obviously it was a personal decision based on family reasons. However, there was also a desire ever since I left I knew I always had the desire to somehow come back to the country and contribute in whatever small way I can, as long as it's a positive contribution. So I think that was the main driver back. However, again, as you said, leadership drought in Pakistan, and I pointed out that that's probably because of the brain drain. So what we end up with is, when I decided to come back, was people asking, what the hell are you doing? You're earning well, you're well established, you can be anywhere in the world you want to be in New York or London or Hong Kong, you choose to come out to Karachi. That was the first confusing question that people came up with, that we don't get it. The second thing was, then you chose a public company. The opportunity came up, and quite honestly, I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised, at how clear and at least I would like to think, merit-based process it was when I applied for this role. So the second confusion that people came up with was, A, you're coming back to Pakistan, B, a government organization out of all those.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, it was a significant financial haircut that I took, not only to come back to Pakistan, but also to choose to join a public company. But the reason I did that was, obviously, coming back to Pakistan to contribute positively. And then, I genuinely believe State Life is a national institute.
Yeah.
It's a national organization where if you have the right positive intent and you work hard as an individual to contribute towards the corporation's benefit, you are effectively contributing to the entire population's benefit.
Yeah, true.
And that was the attractive part about it. Not the money, not the role, but to actually be able to contribute positively to the wider country. And mashallah, I think it's been very tiring. We've been very, very busy over here, but fulfilling at the same time. And I think that experience that I brought from abroad as well, of how you're always on your toes and multitasking, engaging into State Life, has really helped me with that, because it's a multidimensional organization. And if I contribute 10% to the benefit of this organization, that gets amplified to a much bigger contribution to its social protection of the wider country. So you take tough decisions.
So I must ask this question: how is your experience here? There are, culture differences.
I'm a Pakistani. This is my culture. So no differences there. Are you talking about organizational culture?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. When you've been working abroad with multinationals and strategy consultancies, etc., of course, there's a huge difference. In the sense that, in my experience in strategy consultant before, geographical borders did not matter. Is the one thing. You were seamlessly connected. And even if somebody was sat in Chicago, and if I was in Hong Kong, or if I was in London and they were in Singapore, you worked seamlessly. You were interconnected, and you had a very profound sense that this is a team working together towards a projected goal. Culturally, I believe, and all of that has come through tech developments and connections and digital enhancements. I think one of the main things within here, not only State Life, but I think wider organizations, is that at times people may struggle to form that holistic view, that there is an end goal. And we all individually have a very important role to play to attain that goal. And it's only if we do, even individually, and then as teams, and then as a company, as a corporate, do we all play our due role well, then only will we be able to attain that end goal. I think sometimes we end up being in silos too much over here. My department, my division, my team, myself. So that's a big change that we need to bring through. If cultures across country, across the world can work together, then we can do a much better job in coming together here in Pakistan or within an organization. There's a lot of tech enhancements, digital enhancements that we need, but I think there's also a mindset thing of understanding one's own importance towards the bigger picture. And I think if we start to bring that importance in our own self, that what I do daily actually has a much more significant impact than I understand, then we will understand the responsibilities that we have individually. And then you understand your contribution towards your team, towards your corporation, and towards the wider society.
Okay, so what's your biggest achievement in your life?
Hasn't come yet. I'm still waiting for that big achievement.
So where do you see yourself after 5 years or your organization?
In nature, I'm always chasing that achievement. Maybe that's why I'm here. Maybe that's
Okay.
why, when people ask me, well, how did I manage being the youngest CEO or chairman of this organization, maybe that's why it is. Everything is a step towards a bigger contribution. I guess that's my driving part. So I don't know when that achievement or a sense of self-achievement may come. There's a sense of satisfaction in that I'm not doing anything wrong. That's about it. Being a good human being, I think that's the biggest achievement. That you're well-natured, well-grounded, and your sense of good drives your decisions. I think that's a fulfillment part. As far as a career or corporate is concerned, I'm just a cog in a bigger machine. That's what the sense that comes to me. Hence, I don't see myself as being the machine itself. So it's always about the contribution, and I'm hoping to make a better and a bigger contribution, whichever role I find myself in. I really don't know what that achievement will be that gives me a tick box.
So who's your role model?
I'm going to give a very cliche example answer to this. Yeah,
Two role models in Pakistan.
my role model. And I'll give you a very cliche answer to this. Okay, I am, and I won't say Qaid Azam, I'll say Jinnah, because he himself said he's a simple Mr. Jinnah. But I do, and I know this is a cliche answer for every Pakistani. But what drives me, I've read a lot on him, from Stanley Walpert to other books and other articles and all of that, is that even his biggest detractors never questions his integrity and his honesty. And think about Pakistan society now. We've deviated significantly, and if integrity and honesty are the two qualities, if we really bring in ourselves, then we can go a long way. So I think one is that. The other, definitely, we've been blessed as Muslims as well. We've had great examples in the past, from the Prophet, peace be upon him, to the caliphs and all. But if you talk about in the modern world, I think individuals such as JFK. The reason I really do like JFK, that's John F. Kennedy, the former assassinated president of the US, is it feels like he was what I've heard and what I've read, is a US president who understood the enormity of the task, as they call a US president, leader of the free world, that he actually reached out to the role of a superpower as a harbinger of peace. So that, again, that sets a ideal in a mind that is beyond physical achievements. So I think people like that. Then you've got writers. I think Fyodor Dostoevsky is a writer. Kafka is a writer whose writings have really inspired me, together with people even like Ghalib.
So how you manage your stress or anger in Pakistan at this position?
You can ask the people I work with. It keeps, to be honest, I'm probably a bit of a workaholic, so I'm always on my feet, focused on what I need to do next. And I think that, and when you set yourself smaller tasks and achievement and goals, then you get a self of fulfillment. So you're continuously moving.
Any unique habit that you do?
Exercise.
For exercise.
I think that's very important. Even when you're traveling and stuff, I always have my gym kit with me. Not that, I'm an exercise maniac, but exercise is a key way of relieving stress. Swimming is great. It, I think, is the most peaceful time that you can have to yourself. So you end up going to the gym a lot and swimming. Before I came to Pakistan, there was a lot of hiking as well.
That's hiking, so nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because you're completely cut off from the corporate world.
Yeah.
You're cut off from the city life. You're out in nature.
Yeah.
So all the time that I can spend in nature and heavy hikes.
Yeah.
You know, I think the most I've done in a day is 50K of hiking up and down. But hiking and trekking is also a big part because nature is what relieves my stress.
Yeah.
Natural surroundings.
Really true. So, 3 keywords for success.
Should have thought about this word. I think intention, aspiration, and focus.
Focus, that's good. Okay, and your favorite books which you recommend our youth or generation for the leadership management?
There's leadership management. I'm a bit of a history buff, so I end up reading biographies a lot more rather than corporate books which talk about this is how you should manage your team. There are good corporate books out there as well. I think one of the recent ones I read, which is recommended on a lot of things, is about the monk who sold his Ferrari. Have you read that? You have. It's more about how you set your mind and philosophy towards your goal, whatever life achievements there is, and that's what gives you genuine happiness and contentment. That's one of the most recent ones I read through. But there's a very good book by Barnaby Rogerson. It's a biography on the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and it is said as that. And what I really like about that book is it connects both the spiritual and the human side of obviously the greatest man in history. And there's a lot to be inspired from.
Yeah.
So, and when you talk about leadership, you talk about, when I spoke about, surprisingly, the 3 words I gave you were what? Intent, aspiration, and focus. Now you look at it, when your intent is clear and honest, for the benefit of others, your path will become clear. And that's your aspiration, which is your heavenly will. The Prophet was obviously heavenly inspired. You have that aspiration. Yeah. And as Muslims, we have that aspiration. We've got the Quran to guide us. And then the focus, that I will achieve the goodness for others. And you have people like Abdul Sadi in our lifetime who've shown us that path. So we have plenty of examples, but I would suggest that particular book. And that's a really good one. Read Stanley Walport's Jinnah of Pakistan. Surprised how many Pakistanis haven't read that book. Given the pictures everywhere, we should definitely read that. Another book that became a bit of my Bible when I was a teenager, and I think it's a literary masterpiece, is Fyodor Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov. And it's really interesting in understanding human nature and the complexities of it. So I would recommend that too.
Thank you so much for the books. And at the end and last, I'll ask 3 keywords for a leader, a great leader. How we can become?
Empathy.
Empathy.
Empathy would be right on top. Passion.
Passion.
And the 3rd would be determination.
Determination, that's great. Okay, thank you so much. At the end of our conversation, I would request you that to give a short optimism message to our youth generation.
Whatever your goals may be, they don't have to be financial, they don't have to be corporate, they can be humanitarian, but to be optimistic that yes, you can achieve them. So my message to you all would be: believe in yourselves. Have faith in yourselves, most importantly, and the discipline. That whatever it is, there will always be ups and downs, there will always be surprises, but you must always have the discipline that you don't take the eye off the ball. So go forth with confidence, optimism, and a belief in yourself, and I'm certain whatever you set yourself out to achieve, you will achieve.
Thank you so much, sir, for this informative and inspirational interview and session. So at the end of our conversation, I concluded that if you want to be a successful person, you should have empathy, passionate, aspiration, and intention towards your work, and you should be focused what you are doing in your life. So you should be a goal-oriented person. Thank you so much